Hello, Aeternum, and welcome to this special roundtable discussion of the state of Aeternum in New World. I am your host, War Correspondent John Chalant, KOTT News, Aeternum's #1 source for news. Joining me on the screen left, representing the West Coast, Fresh Start Experience is BlackSwan.
Hello.
Who I've invited to give her perspective as a company leader, organizing and participating in wars, expeditions, invasions, and general Fresh Start experiences. Joining me on my screen right, representing the East Coast New World experience is YaBoiWiilly, that's with 2 eyes, Aeternum's premier war shoutcaster, and if you don't know, now you know. Before we get started, talking about the state of Aeternum, let's take a moment, to talk about what drives each of our projects. For those who don't know, my channel is about helping you find a career to a path in interactive entertainment. In other words, helping you become a player in the game. If you don't know, on my channel, you'll find various interviews with project developers, program designers, and various small indie developers, and also esports organizers. So if you're looking to get involved with that, you can check out my other channels. But let's find out what other people are doing. Let's start with Swan. Tell us a little bit about your channel, if you please.
Absolutely. So, of course, streamer as well. Thank you guys for having me. Absolutely love hanging out on the Fresh Start servers. It is absolutely an incredible experience. It is true to the Fresh Start ways of being able to PvP and PvE and have just a lot of fun without having somebody that has 2,000 plus hours in the game that can, attack and take everything that you have type thing. So it is so much fun being out there. I've been teaching a lot of people that never got a chance to PvP, have had them be in wars and experience the fun joys of being in war, as well as still keeping up with those invasions and climbing up the mutation ladders. So
Excellent. And Willie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on over with you?
Yeah, of course. It's YaBoiWiilly. A lot of you guys know me here if you guys have watched a lot of New World and stuff. I'm out here pretty much 6 days a week holding it down. I shoutcast the wars, huge into the PvP. Obviously, I think PvP is the best part of the game. That's my personal opinion now. But that is obviously kind of what I do for the most. I shoutcast, kind of created kind of like an esports kind of environment over here over the last about year and a half. We're going on a year and a half now. And it's been nothing but fun. So yeah, that's kind of the TLDR over here.
Yeah, a year and a half is about how long it's been, and that's about how long I've been working on this most recent portfolio of example pieces. That's what I also have on my channel. Everyone is welcome to look at those for inspiration upon which to draw and create their own. I was talking to Swan about this beforehand. If anybody out there is thinking about doing their own news network on their own server, by all means, please do so. It is a bit of work. You should be advised to be prepared for that work effort. But
are you giving us training?
I'd be happy to. We can talk about that after this. But this is, again, the state of Aeternum. What we're going to talk about for those of you who might be new to New World or returning after getting in at launch and might want to know what's going on. That's what we're here to talk about. So I've put together some bullet points for us to talk about. Let's talk about the now, and then we'll kind of talk about the past and the future. In the now, we're in the middle of the Season 1 track. We just wrapped up the Springtide Bloom event. A bunch of flower sniffers, a cult-like following, if you will, who were going around getting all the pollen from the flowers. And it ran right up into the next event, which is the Spriggan event. Very much like a Turklon event, which we'll talk about there. And then the next event that's upcoming that will run into will be the Medley Fair event, which is all about your music and your fishing. Would either of you care to talk about what you felt about those events?
Really?
Yes. Well, to be honest, look, I'll be honest with you. So I obviously am a little bit more into the PvP. So I'm a little biased when it comes to the events. I think it's awesome, right? Don't get it twisted. I actually think the events are really cool. And I think it's kind of like a staple for MMOs, right? Like, it's really cool to have those kind of like, every spring, summer, like we saw it in WoW. We saw it in things like that, kind of having those, holiday kind of events type deals. But I do think the event overall is always nice, right? I think it's always something that's going to be a little extra to the game, and especially if you are like a new player to the game, it's going to be a little bit of extra spice, and it's going to be showing them and others like, hey, this game is kind of putting in a little something to kind of show you that there's a little bit more to it. Personally, I do think they're pretty cool. This Spriggan event, now you're gonna have to refresh, what's going on with the Spriggan event, John? Like, what's going on out there? Like, what's going to be popping with that?
You want me to take this?
By all means,
Yeah,
I'm
Swan.
sure you've
Yeah,
run into
John
it.
Swan. You guys both rhyme. John Swan. It works.
Yeah.
Well, we'll tag team this. How's that? So regarding the spring event, I absolutely loved it because the patterns that were provided in the spring event are incredible for crafters. So that it's always fun to see what type of patterns they're going to be coming out with next. They could have absolute bis that can roll on them that will cost you nothing, or they can just be, just you don't want to buy those, go buy flowers instead type of patterns. But these actually were incredible because they allowed you to choose your own attribute without having to have those attribute perks. So they made it very, very cost efficient for crafters like myself. So I absolutely loved it. Everybody thought it was tedious. I thought it was kind of mind-numbingly fun. I would get out there, just go out and just chase little roses and have the bees come after me. And I mean, it was fine. But regarding the Spriggan event, you need quite a few individuals. It is indeed a massive Spriggan he is protected by all of his little minions that you have to destroy before he will summon. So it is indeed a team effort. If you go out there by yourself, you will absolutely be melted. Probably around a 20-man raid you will need for these individuals, or for these bosses to be successful. And they actually do drop some really, really cool weapons as well. So it's definitely something to check out, and you can get that 3 times a day. So definitely want to hit those 3 times a day and get those.
Well, hey, I think that's pretty awesome. I think it's pretty awesome. I mean, given a little bit of content, and I always thought, I don't know about you, but like when I'm doing the invasions, like I mean, I think all of them look pretty cool. But when I see those Spriggans, I'm like, oh damn, like those are like the big boys. Like that's what I'm like. Oh, it's getting real, you know.
That's you get big damage on the Spriggans, so everybody loves the Spriggans.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of invasions, on the roadmap coming up soon, there's projected to be a change. 2 of the big changes for invasions is a little bit of less prep time, which yeah, some people aren't as happy about it as others. Swan,
so what's happening with the prep time?
15 to 5 minutes. So of course we had the 15 minutes prep time like you guys do in Wars. And it was too long of a time frame. So they were like, okay, well, if it's too long, we'll make it 5 minutes.
I love that. Is that a controversy? I actually love that. I actually think it's a pretty good one.
Do you set up the rosters though? Because I'm already panicking, thinking about how quickly I'm gonna have to put rosters together in 5 minutes flat. So
yeah, okay, that's fair. Setting up the roster would be a little difficult, but I do think I do think sometimes it can be a little extra when it comes to so not only is like an invasion or a war 30 minutes, right? But when you have that extra 15 minutes. Trying to get people to come in for an invasion, sometimes it's like maybe if it's a little bit shorter of a time frame, maybe more people would be inclined to do it, because sometimes it's like, if people are waiting 45 minutes to get into a war, they could be like, oh yeah, sure. Right? Like it's worth it. It's a big war, whatever. But like sometimes with an invasion, it's like, hey, dude, come over here and do this invasion. And sometimes maybe it's like, well, I don't know if I want to, spend that much doing it. So I don't know. I think it could be a good thing, but you're right. If I was rostering, I would be a little worried.
If we had control of the full roster itself prior to pools, as War does, it would be a lot easier because then we could organize it prior to pools. But we get 10 pools and that's it. So we have 10 individuals that we can move around to our liking, but then the other 40 randoms that get pulled in, we better know their builds by heart, or it's going to be a very difficult invasion.
That is so weird. Have you ever thought about that? As somebody who's doing a lot of invasions, Swan, have you ever thought about how odd of a mechanic that is? Why do you? Yeah. So do you think that is just to make sure like more people have the chance to see the content? Or do you think that's why they do it? Just like, hey, anybody can kind of get in here?
I think so, because they're not as heavily tied to owning the territory as wars are. So my thought process has always been, you do want your 50 best protecting your territory, but when it comes to the PvE content, don't gatekeep it. So I believe that's what they're doing there. And honestly, I kind of like it because I have ran into some incredible individuals this way. So I'm happy that I get 40 random people so that I can, learn and grow with other individuals that do eventually turn into invasion leaders too. So it's a lot of fun watching them grow.
I can respect that, honestly. I think it works a little bit more now that we're low pop, though. Like, I couldn't imagine if we were like full servers and like, you have this territory and then like, you get 40 pulls and it's just a bunch of like, let's say unlucky fresh faces. I'd be like, oh God, guys, none of them have Discord set up. I don't know. I could just see it being sketchy, but right now, yeah, I think it does work. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think the invasions can be fun. I would like to see a little bit more variations in the invasions personally, just when it comes to spicing things up. Like we've said on stream before, like an Angry Earth invasion, a Lost invasion, something different than just the Corrupted. I think that would be pretty awesome.
Well,
absolutely.
If you'll excuse me, they're making some changes.
Indeed.
There are going to be shorter invasion times. Apparently, they're ramping it up, so it's not going to be 25 minutes of sitting around and everybody chilling, which is cool in its own way, and then 5 minutes of action. So apparently, it's going to be a 20-minute invasion now that's going to be more progressive in its action sequence.
Yep.
That's dope.
Also, Willie, going back to what you said there briefly, on El Dorado, we have a point of contact. Jolene is our most premier invasion runner.
Oh, indeed. Yeah. Indeed. I love that girl to pieces.
Yeah, and there are others, but she's our most prominent. And
absolutely.
They have a server, a Discord server, New World Northwest server, and invites everybody out there. Everybody jumps on there and they to discuss it out. So we're looking forward to those invasion changes, and I like the idea of having different types of enemies invading. It makes thematic sense that it's the corruption, Isabella, et cetera, trying to take over the island, but I like what you're thinking there too. So maybe in the future, maybe that's something they do. We'll see. But let me ask you, Willie, we'll switch it up a little bit here. You're on the PvP side of things, so let's go over to the PvP side of things. They're projecting a new PvP arena and maybe even in the future, new OPRs. Are you expecting any happiness? Are you looking forward to that?
Okay, well, so am I expecting happiness? I think there will be. I think there will be happiness if we got a new OPR map. But one thing that I will 100% tell you is I don't think people are going to be too happy about a new arena map. Nobody was happy whenever it was announced. And honestly, like, I don't think a lot of people are going to be pretty thrilled for it, mainly because it does kind of feel like a bit of a slap in the face a little bit, just because if a lot of the people who are hardcore in the PvP scene, like a lot of people who do like to do the PvP, they're not, surprisingly enough, and I think this might shock AGS, but they're not really into arena. Like they're way more into OPR. So I think the fact that we didn't get an OPR map first, and it seems like they're prioritizing an arena map, I think that's the main reason why they would feel a little kind of like, a little, I guess, slighted at it. But I mean, either way though, and again, not to be a negative Nancy, I think it is cool, right? I think any kind of content that we can get for PvP is awesome, right? So I mean, I think a new arena map is cool, but yeah, I think that is kind of one thing that I would like to see a new I would like to see a new OPR map personally, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Mm-hmm. And Swanee, how about your company over there? Are they looking forward to any arena? Are they PvP at all?
We are indeed. We definitely do, and we're excited for it just because we've seen the photo of it. Have you seen it, Willie? It's the two-story
I have.
platform that you go up and you duel in, and then you can be knocked off. But with that knocked off, is it just going to be a constant chase? And with this new 3v3 coming out, it's going to essentially, I guess, deactivate the current one, and we will only have access to this one. So if this map isn't one that you want to, play on, because the platform itself is extremely obnoxious, knocking people off and then chasing them around until the fire starts, I think that might turn a lot of people away from 3v3s as well. And I think everybody that plays OPR is with you, Willie. And yeah, we all want a new map, and it's promised, but it never happens.
Well, I actually kind of like the idea of kind of like prioritizing the new arena map over the old one, because I do, as much as I like the old arena map, I do think that it is a little stale. You know what I mean? Like it's not dynamic. So I kind of like the idea of having like with it being two stories and kind of more things going on. I think the dynamicness of it is going to be kind of a bonus, but yeah, I think that's cool. But yeah, an OPR map is definitely needed, and yeah. I've ranted about it for a second on my stream too. But what I don't understand is, why can't we just, give us a little something, just give us a little cut out of the map, You know,
Yeah.
like give us a little cutout on the map. Just make it an OPR map. Put some flags down or something. Like, I don't know. Give us something. We're going on 2 years, man. We need a new OPR map.
Well, you know, not to speculate on what may or may not be coming, but any possibility in your mind that maybe this new adjustment in First Light is going to be their foray into open world?
I would love that now, because I've been saying as well, I think the newest like when we got a new territory, I was kind of really hoping for something. I don't know how much you know about RuneScape and stuff like that, but I was hoping for something like a wilderness style, like something to where it's like it incentivizes only open world PvP, and there's some type of reward, and you know, some type of, you know, you get a reward for doing it, but then also at the same time, like if you die, you lose something. So you know, kind of that give and take, kind of similar to maybe I think it was the Dark Zone in the Division. I think that's what it was called, but yeah, in the Division, that's kind of what it's kind of what I'm thinking of. That would be hype.
Right on. All right, well, let me ask you guys, let's switch it up a little bit then. Based on what we've seen, everyone here has been here since day one swimming ashore, right? So
Yep.
people have come and gone, but we've been here through it. Based on what we've experienced, do you believe the development team, AGS in general, have been committed to the project, and do you believe that going forward they're still putting their effort into it? Swan, what do you think?
I'll take it. I truly do. I do believe that they are not as big of a team as people want to believe. So, and a lot of individuals think that if they submit a ticket, then it can be completed with an easy button. And so it kind of, you know, it pulls people away from the game, because they're like, well, this error still exists. Why is this still a problem? Because it's not just an easy button. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this entire game, and not being as big of a team as one would think. I think that has just a lot to do with it. On top of, I do think that they are going to stay committed. I do know that there is another game in works, but I believe they said that they're going to stay committed to it, that they have even more on the roadmap for next year than they do this year. So
Yep.
trying to show us that they are absolutely committed.
Yeah, I have a weird take on it, because I'm not gonna lie. So as somebody who was playing from the start, I feel like at first I felt like these guys aren't committed at all. You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, after experiencing all the bugs that were happening and things, and sometimes it did feel like it took way too long for them to answer these things. And I think that's where the sentiment in the community started. Like, once the fact that it took so long for these like game breaking bugs to get answered, like I'm talking weeks for bugs that were like absolutely like, you know, this should be a day thing. Like, you got to get this out. When it comes to commitment, at first I was a little worried. I do think that over time though, it has changed. I think they are committed. Now I don't know what they're committed. I don't know what direction they're necessarily committed for. And as a PvP player, I get a little nervous, because it does seem to be that they are a little bit more committed to the PvE content, which is fine. But I do like seeing new changes in PvP. I'm not like complaining out here. It's just like, from what I'm seeing, you know, and that's totally fine, right? Like in MMOs, you need a strong backbone of PvE. Like, I'm not dumb, you know, like I get that. But as a PvP player, and you know, that is one thing I think about. But I do think, to round out my statement here, I do think overall, I think that they are committed. And I have seen a lot better things coming out this year from them, and more communication than I've seen previously. And I think that's a big thing. And one thing that I think people might have forgot is they did kind of hold up to their word when they said that they were going to kind of have like quicker, more like kind of balance fixes. They just did that not too long ago, right after kind of a patch. It only took like, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks, and they did kind of some balancing with the fire staff. So I think there is more commitment now than there ever has been, which is great. But I'm worried about the direction. That's me. Like, what commitment to what direction? Like, what's their outlook on it? You know what I mean? And like, what do they want to change?
Oh, Fire Staff Union on top, obviously.
Facts.
Well, I see it. Well, obviously, my win condition for this game has been uniquely different. And I see it as a grandiose adventure for everyone to participate in. I tell people all the time, I'm merely telling the story that is evolving in front of me. So whatever everyone is doing, that's what I'm telling. And that's what I see happening. I'm looking forward to this becoming grander and grander. Some of the best stories that I've told about this server are things like Primordius going out there and preventing people from pushing them into conflict in the first place. They would go almost a week and a half to 2 weeks before people could actually declare war on them because they were so actively involved in open world PvP defense, those types of things. So I know that there's different type of mental aspects to this game. So I love to see where it's going and what they're up to.
New World's super dynamic. I think that's one thing that, like, it sucks that the population's a little low, but there is a lot of dynamics to New World. Like, there's a lot of ways you can play New World, and I think that is one thing that the devs kind of have, like, it's kind of rough for them, right? Because there's so many ways to balance these builds. There's so many ways to play New World that it's like, God, like, that's got to be hard. Like, it's got to be hard to be like, oh, you know, we want to buff this, you know, like, oh, we want to buff you know, the fire staff, and then it's like, oh God, and PvP is disgusting. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's like, oh well, wait a minute. You know, it's like you got to think. You know, like it's weird. And even like, for instance, the musket. Not many people are doing it in PvE. But like musket was in a weird spot for the longest time, right? Like musket was like insane in PvP, and some PvEers would musket a little bit, not much, but it was like there's an option, right? But now it's like musket's just gutted, like because so many people from the PvP side of things was like, get rid of this damn thing. So it's like now nobody can use the damn musket. But yeah, I don't know. That's the way. That's just something I was thinking about.
Well, yeah, too many of those musketeers were using too many hacks, if I'm being forthcoming about it. Yeah. You can't be shooting
honestly,
people. You can't be headshotting people through trees. Come on, man.
Dude, these guys are just too busy playing Valorant.
Yeah, also true.
They get out of here. They're peaking in Valorant, dude. They get on New World trying to hit crank a 90 out.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, Willie, you kind of touched on something that brings us eloquently into the very next subject. Speaking of adjustments, what do you think in the last patch, last 6 months or since launch, what are some of the biggest wins or some of the biggest unresolved issues that you think happened in as far as patches or adjustments? Let's go back to Swan because Willie just spoke.
Yeah. I'll talk forever if you don't stop me, John. Yeah, somebody's got to stop me, dude.
That is a good one. Well, it has definitely became apparent that AGS does not like healers. We're just gonna throw that one out there.
I don't think that's true, but go on.
Oh, you tell me that's not true. It's never we are buffing this and this for healers. No, it's we're nerfing that. We're nerfing that. Oh yeah, you wanna cast that splash of light? No longer 100 meters. It's going to be 25 meters. It's like, stop this. It's just a constant. It's constantly like healers are just getting nerfed and nerfed and nerfed, and
the
it's
1-2
getting
punch
harder
for healers. I'm sorry to interrupt. The 1-2. I just want to add on to what you're saying. The 1-2 punch for healers, I felt like was the light armor when they nerfed like the light armor, and then they also made it to where Rapier was nerfed. I don't know if you played Rapier at the time, but
no, no, I did not. But and thankfully, I came into healing after everybody, I guess, was enjoying the heals prior to the patch, and so I got into it and I didn't know any better. But now that I've seen quite a few of the changes they're doing to the healers, it's like it's getting harder and harder to be a healer. We can't stay alive. We're constantly targeted by those kill squads. So I don't know. I think healers are probably the number one thing that I've noticed that they just kind of they like to dig their claws into. But as far as probably the biggest win, being able to pull your stuff out of the trading or out of your storage from all other locations without having to use gold. That right there was a massive win. Yep. Massive win. But that's a really old patch. But I went broke trying to get stuff out of other storages because you couldn't travel. There's been a lot of really solid changes. A lot.
Counter hypothesis. There was a part of me that did not like that change because I saw it as a merchanting aspect in the game. You know, somebody traveling from place to place. But I get it as a quality of life issue for most other players. I get it. Again, remember, I was thinking of it as this grandiose army moving, kind of game. But I totally get it. What about you, Willie? What about some things that have changed in the game that you really liked or are still kind of frustrated by?
Yeah, so obviously it's going to be more in the PvP sense, like, at least whenever I think of certain changes that I think about. And dude, I swear, and I don't know, anybody listen to this, anybody in the Twitch chat, man, I'm missing my old Oblivions, man. When they nerfed Oblivion, I felt like wars used to feel very PvP and wars used to feel very intense because the way Oblivion used to work, right? If you got caught lacking with an Oblivion, you could get 100-0 fairly quickly, and that did suck. But back in the day, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun whenever Oblivion was canceling out like sacreds and all kinds of stuff. And I like that. I actually kind of like that gameplay. I actually really like that style. So I kind of missed that a little bit. But whenever now, and this might be a little this might be a little controversial, but I do think a little bit of the best thing that they've done recently was actually with the most recent PvP changes. So I really liked it whenever they kind of what they did with bruisers. And a lot of people were really nervous about the bruiser change at first. Yeah. So the bruiser change at first, a lot of people were like, oh, we're not getting grit with 300 strength anymore. It's coming with the 300 con. Everybody's like, bruiser's dead. Bruiser's dead. But like, I actually, like, unironically, that patch kind of saved wars a little bit, in my opinion.
100% agree.
Yeah, it saved wars a little bit, because honestly, that Brimstone patch with wars, that was the most sleeper wars that we have seen ever in New World. Literally non-stop sleeper wars. It was like, because nobody could get into the fort. Like, you could obviously get to the gates and stuff, but that was really horrible at the time. But once they changed it with the bruiser and stuff, I will say, since that patch came down, we have had seen a lot of competitive wars now, and we're starting to see more wins coming out from the attackers. So I actually like that. Even though at the time it was a little, nerve-wracking, right? Like, it was like, oh God, bruisers, this and that. I actually do think it was a dub at the end of the day. So that's been my personal favorite change. And really, when it comes to the PvP, that's what we can kind of look at as a little bit of the it's kind of like the incremental changes, like the build changes and like things like that kind of affect the combat, because again, no shots are fired at AGS, but we haven't really gotten like a big PvP change. You know what I mean? I'm still waiting. And this is a big flood for me. I'm sorry, I'm a rant about this. This is a big flood for me. I still don't understand. I've said this for a while. And if somebody were to ask me, if somebody was at the dev team, they're like, look, all right, Willie, one thing that you would change immediately to just one PvP change I would make immediately, and I know they're working on it, so I'm not going to give them too much hell here, but one thing I would change immediately is the way you queue for, or the way you declare on a war. It's just insufferable. Just pushing those faction missions, I mean, it's a big deterrence for new players. It's a big deterrence for people like new companies and people who want to get in there. It's like, it can be so mind-numbing to just sit there and run faction missions for hours. And it's like, I really think that needs to be a change that needs to happen soon, right? Like, that can't be something that, like, I don't know. That's something I would have changed a long time ago, just because, like, I feel like all content needs to have some kind of like fun. If you're going to have a mechanic in the game, then it needs to be somewhat engaging and or fun. And I feel like those are not engaging and it's not fun. That's my opinion on that. That's just my thing. But that's one thing that I do feel like they need to change bad.
There is a lot of creative space for growth in the way each faction can, like for example, the Covenant could have different ways to proselytize to a region, right? And the Syndicate could have other ways to have legitimate business practices within a region in order to get people to come over. All right, well, let me keep going us forward, because I know, Willie, you're going to have a soft out here pretty soon. The wars are going to start catching up to us. Where am I at here? All right, let's keep it light. How about some quality of life stuff? And I'll get us started. There's a couple of quality life things that will impact me personally. So a little selfishly, I sure would like to be able to go into completely first-person perspective so I can get some machinima content on my camera. Okay. All right. I know we don't have that because it's a PvP-driven game, right? And you need that over-the-shoulder perspective. And another thing, quality of life, friends list. I sure would like to be able to have more than 100, and or the ability to know how long somebody in my friends list has logged in since. So
it would be incredible.
Yeah, so I could start the calling, unfortunately.
Well, in the friends list thing, a quality of life I think you could add to that is it's so minor, but it's the little things, especially when you're playing the game, right? There's still a little bit of that bugs where sometimes it doesn't even show that they're online. And you have to scroll to the bottom of the friends list for it to actually load. Yeah, that's a small quality of life that I swear to God would make me smile if it was fixed. Like, every time I go to check my friends, I'm like, man, nobody's on. I'm like, damn, ain't nobody playing right now. And then I scroll down, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I just had to scroll down. That's the thing for me.
Can we talk about the filtering on a perk in your storage?
What? No, tell me more
about it. That'd be beneficial.
Inform me.
That's the quality of life that's coming. It's there. It's there. Check it out. It is indeed there. You'll be able to filter on the perks or look up the perks to be able to find.
I understand what you're saying now. That is extremely helpful.
Is that the best quality of life improvement ever? Being able to, if you want all of your refreshing, resilient, freedom, or whatever, if you want all of those popped up, then you'll be able to find them with just typing those 3 perks in the search bar versus going through 10 different storage units, hoping and praying that you put it in the right spot. And it's a beating.
Yeah.
Absolute beating. So, and gems. You'll be able to filter on gems, which I thought was interesting, but I'll take it.
Oh my gosh.
New World's like with the way the gear and stuff works, I feel like there's so many variables and like variations that I do think they have done a good job with the quality of life, because there for a while it was so hard to keep up on some of your stuff. It's like, holy moly, there's so much pieces. There's like no gear sets. I think the gear sets obviously is awesome. Like
mind-blowing.
I'm glad that we are getting these things, because for a second it was like, dude, what the hell? It was sometimes a little hard with like the inventory management and stuff. It's like, oh man, this is miserable. But I definitely do think the quality of life is getting up there. One quality of life thing I would like to see, and this is probably just mainly me for the most part, but sometimes there's still that UI bug whenever you look at the map. And it says like what companies declaring on certain companies are declaring on certain territories, and it's like the corruption, an invasion. I'm like, it's not invasion, but like it's just like it's like, bro, come on, like it gives the wrong companies and stuff.
I can't get a screen capture of their. It drives me crazy.
I was attacking myself yesterday. If that helped any, I was like, I was attacking myself.
Right. So it's like, oh damn, I guess it's friendly fire. Like it's super weird, but that's one thing that I think, because it's also got to be something that the community looks at as well, right? All the players deal with it. So I have people come to my stream sometime and they'll be like, hey, whoa, are you cashing this award? I'm like, yo, that's not even happening. Like, that's not even a award. That's a UI bug. They're like, oh, you're right. I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, I don't know. That's a small quality of life that I think would be big.
For sure. I agree.
Yep. I agree also. There's 2 more things I want to talk about, but before I do that, I want to do a couple of quick shout out, call to action type things. First things first. I want to thank some of the premier developers over there. I want to thank Katie Kaczynski, the senior producer. I want to thank David Verfili, I believe the creative director. Sorry, David, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. And Scott Lane, the HMFIC over there at AGS, because they do show up and do a lot of communication with the community. Thanks, guys and gals, and their junior developers who were recently on their roundtable that they did earlier this week. Unexpected. Thank you. And the 2 of you, on my personal YouTube channel, I will be expending 4 of my cards to 2 of your YouTube channels and 2 of your Twitch channels. Those will send them off YouTube, off algorithm. So if you guys are going to go check out their Twitch channels, make sure you do go check those out after you finish watching this. All right. So let's go back to the final 2 things I want to talk about here. This will take up a few more moments, but from my right to my left this time, Willie, what are you most looking forward to in the upcoming season here? I think the next summer event is a medley fair, then after that is, the fall expansion maybe, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think personally, if I'm not mistaken, this is when we're going to get cross-server OPRs, right? Like that, I believe it's going to be in this one. So that is definitely what I'm going to be looking forward to most. And not only because I think obviously it's going to mean quicker OPR queues for people, so they're going to be more persuaded to actually queue up for OPR, because sometimes sitting in that queue, not all servers experience this, especially now that we're more condensed nowadays. There for a while it was a little bit more difficult, and I know the West you only have like 2 servers at this point, but so you guys might be getting queues a little bit more than some others, but I do think that even on the East Coast, the queues aren't necessarily the worst. I'm on Buchamma and I don't have too much of a problem with it, but I still think knowing that they're going to be popping, knowing that like, hey, I'm going to hit up a queue and it's going to be kind of rather quick. I think that's going to be more incentive to even want to play, right? Because it's just how any game goes. Less queue time, then easier for them to kind of get it going. And for my opinion, a little bit different, thought process for that is not only am I looking forward to that because obviously OPRs are going to be more accessible, but it's going to be the first time we get to see what cross server looks like. And that's going to be huge because look, I don't know, man, if AGS, if you're here, man, hear me out. I'm gonna shoot my shot. I'm shooting my shot. AGS, if you hear me out, man, I know you guys know, but Cubal Wars, man, Cubal Wars, practice wars, but I still think Cubal Wars. And I think the only way Cubable Wars is possible is through cross-server. So I do think seeing what it looks like cross-server here in OPR is going to be a big thing, because if it can stabilize and there's not many problems, I think that's going to be a big thing for the team, honestly, for AGS. Because if it goes smoothly and cross service is not that bad, then fantastic. It means that they can start working on maybe cross war, maybe Cubable Wars, maybe like, I don't know. That's obviously my hopeful self, and in my dream world. But that is kind of like that's what I'm looking at here. So that's obviously the OPRs, which is great for people to get more accessibility. But that's that I just hope it goes good.
Yeah. I know a lot of PvPers really would appeal to the drop-in, drop-out aspect of a Cubable War, a practice war, if you will. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are looking for deep down, but they don't know how to articulate it.
Yeah, it would do so much for the community, because it would be a gateway for a lot of the players who unfortunately don't get the chance to be in a war. You know what I mean? Like, because let's be honest, wars kind of do feel gatekeepy at times. So it's kind of so it's like this is a way for people to actually get that experience. And I know some people and some people are gonna be like, well, Willie, how would you do that, right? People are gonna queue up all bows and it's gonna be a madness. Well, I think cross server, right? And then you need to have role selection. And if you're doing cross server, then role selection would be very viable. So it would be a little extra work, but I still think at the end of the day it'd be good for the community. And I've been saying it forever. And again, in that small chance that I know they might be working on it, but I still think that content for the game would make so many people want to play this game. Like, so many people would come back, reinstall New World, get their 5-stack with their buddies, and start running some wars all day. Because wars, it's something about that 50v50 battle that just gets the blood going.
Yep. What about you, Swanee? What are you most looking forward to?
I want to do the Sandworm Elite trial. I want to do this because they said they project maybe 20 people completing it the first week of release. Challenge accepted. I am so excited.
That means they expect really 40 people to be there to give it a serious challenge. But if they're saying 20, then what are they saying? Like, how many people are actually going to have to fight it, or can
20
fight
people? It? No. Out of the first full week, they think only 20 individuals will actually just complete it. Period. So that's one full group that they think will complete it, and we'll see. Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
That's what I'm talking about.
And it's going to be Beast, by the way, you guys. So everybody that thought it was going to be Angry Earth, it is absolutely Beast. They've announced it several times. It will indeed be Beast. So you want to start getting those Beast Wards and those Beast Banes going.
I'm excited to see raids too, because like I'm a big WoW nerd. So like I actually do my PvE in WoW. So but like I would totally be down. Like, I'm a PvPer, but like if they release like like let's just say, let's start it out small, like a 5-6 boss raid, I mean, I'd be considering throwing down for that. Like, that could be a lot of fun. So I do think I think that's pretty cool. Like, starting the whole raiding process, I'm pretty pumped for that too.
And correction, it's 100 people that they plan on completing it, not 20. I apologize, but it's a very small percentage of individuals that will be actually going for it, that they are expecting to complete it. So with it being I don't know, it's gonna be interesting. 20 person trial, so 5 groups is all they expect to actually win this thing. So
that's pretty intense. That's pretty intense though for a week. I mean, a lot of players not left in that kind of way, but a lot of players that are here were like vets. So it's got to be some kind of challenging content then. Like, I mean, a lot of us are vets at this point, and if they're thinking only 100 players will beat it, like, that sounds intense. I'm actually here for that.
Yep.
I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to be a week 1 person. As knowledgeable as I am, I'm pretty casual in the effort department, as you know.
I'm just gonna have to hit up supple.
Yeah, I hear you. Right. All right, gang. Well, let me ask you this question here, and I know the answer pretty much. We're going to talk about value to new or returning refugees. Now, for $40, if you've already bought this game, it is without question worth coming back and checking out. But if you are a new refugee to the island, what do you think? Ladies and gentlemen, let's go with Swan first.
Dive right in. I mean, don't hesitate. If you're considering just do it. I mean, you have nothing to lose. It is so much fun. Trust me, I have an attention span of a gnat, and for something to hold my attention for over 5,500 hours, Holy cow, that's a lot of hours. It's fun because there's something for everybody in the game. If you want to just get on and harvest, you can. If you just want to be somebody that is just raking in the gold, there is a market for you, especially on those fresh start servers, because there is nobody out there doing the harvesting, the mining, nothing. So I mean, there's a market to be had there. But if you're into the PvP, there's something for you there. I mean, there's just something for everybody in this game. So chances are, if you give it a shot, you will absolutely love the game.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of it as well, obviously, right? I mean, not only, New World did change my life, right? So, I mean, I have to give it its props, but also, even if it kind of didn't, I got to give New World props too, because I remember when I first started playing New World, obviously it was on release, but I mean, it got me out of my WoW grind. And like, look, for a guy like me, I got like 3 WoW tattoos. I got, I'm like,
wow.
WoW is my stuff. And I'm sitting there grinding, Burning Crusade, and I start getting a taste of New World. I'm like, oh man, this is kind of fun. And then I started getting in Wars, and I'm like, oh, dude, it just took control. And even though there's been a lot of trials and tribulation, I do think New World is definitely worth it. And I do want to address, the people too who might have gotten turned off at the first, right? Maybe they played in the beginning. There was a lot of bugs, still had some problems. It has changed a lot in that, in that direction. It's not that way anymore. There is still bugs occasionally, this and that, but they're not nearly as game breaking. And if they are, they're more addressed kind of quicker than what it used to be, a lot quicker. But I do think New World as a whole is a fun MMO, and, not paid by AGS either, right? I mean, I do think it's super fun, and especially for $40, you're going to get what, you're definitely going to get your money's back. Not only, I think there's so many ways to play New World. I think we said that earlier, but there's so many ways to play, right? Like you can do PvE content, you can do PvP, and you have wars, you have OPR, you have arenas for the PvP side of things, even open world. And then over there in your PvE stuff, obviously you got so much professions to grind. I still am a firm believer of the fact that, I've been playing it for so long that sometimes I feel like I'm not even appreciating it enough, but I do love the sound and the visuals of New World. I think it still sounds and looks beautiful. It's such a beautiful game to just kind of load up. You can get lost in it, and I do think that there's a lot of things that are still going for it. Obviously, people are going to have opinions on what what needs to change, this and that, where it's at. That's fine. But I still think for a new player, absolutely, you're going to be getting your money's back for that. Like you just will. And also, I will suggest too, if you're a new player making your way in here, and you're feeling maybe you don't have some buddies, this and that, you feel a little lonely, look for a company. I will say some of my best moments from New World was actually getting into a company. There's a lot of great people out here. You meet a lot of awesome people. And once I got into a company, I really started feeling like, wow, this is like, you get involved in the community. And once you get invested, that's when it really starts sucking you in. You start getting in the companies and talking to other companies, and you start doing company things. Yeah, you have your fishing nights. You have all these fun nights and stuff. And it's like, wow, it really starts turning into something else. So, yeah.
It's family.
Absolutely.
Family.
And massive shout out to the devs that 100% do not get enough credit, because what game sits there and just constantly is listening to their player base and then making changes on a fairly consistent basis by listening to us? I mean, that's very rare. So I just want to give a massive kudos to them, because that's appreciated.
Yep. Absolutely. For sure. I agree. Well, my friends, I sure do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join me here today and have this State of Aeternum conversation with my viewers. I hope that your viewers, if you share this with them, also enjoyed it. Willie, I'm sorry that you weren't able to get your camera working today, what with you streaming it out to your community as well. BlackSwan, thank you for joining me as well. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, I think we'll wrap it up here. I'm going to go ahead and stop my recording, and then if you'd have any questions for me afterwards or would like to discuss anything else, then by all means, we can do that.